Strap in, because what just unfolded in that courtroom didn't just shake the walls, it silenced them. For a full 5 seconds, there wasn't a breath, a blink, or a sound. Judges, journalists, and even longtime spectators were frozen in stunned disbelief. And then, chaos. Doug Christie's daughter didn't just testify, she detonated. One sentence, sharp and raw, ripped through the room. "You're not my real mother." You could hear the gasp ripple through the courtroom like a wave. Jackie's face drained of color, her expression locked in disbelief, while the girl she raised stood shaking but unflinching. For weeks, whispers of secrets, DNA discrepancies, odd hospital records, unexplained guardianship documents had circulated like smoke, but no one saw this moment coming. Not in public, not on the record, and definitely not with cameras rolling. But that was only the beginning. Within seconds, Chantal, Doug's daughter, added 3 more explosive revelations, each one hitting harder than the last, effectively dismantling Jackie's credibility in front of a live audience. Even Chris Webber, who had kept his distance until now, reportedly sat in stunned silence as her words echoed across the courtroom. The judge, stunned, called for a recess, but the damage already scorched into the memory of every person watching. As court officers struggled to restore order, reporters scrambled to capture every word, every expression, every tremble. At the center of it all, Chantal remained standing, red-faced, tearful, but determined. Her voice may have shaken, but her message didn't. She wasn't just uncovering family secrets, she was burning the lies to the ground. Jackie sat frozen, unable to meet her gaze. Doug tried to approach, but bailiffs quickly intervened. It was a scene no one could have scripted. And here's the truth most people missed. This courtroom battle wasn't just about custody or slander. It was the final act of a years-long cover-up, hidden documents, forged signatures, and a mystery that Doug himself admitted he never saw coming. Just days before today's testimony, Chantal reportedly stumbled upon a sealed envelope tucked away in storage at Doug's home. Inside, a hospital discharge paper and a note that read chillingly, "You were never supposed to know." That moment, she would later tell the court, shattered her world. And when the court reviewed the newly submitted evidence documents riddled with mismatched signatures, conflicting ID numbers, and even a second birth certificate, it wasn't just shocking, it was incriminating. Doug looked as if someone had pulled the floor out from under him. "How did I miss this?" he whispered, eyes locked on the paperwork. Jackie, on the other hand, said nothing. Her silence spoke volumes. But Chantal wasn't done. She revealed she had quietly met with a man just last week, a man claiming to be her biological father. His name hasn't been made public, but courtroom sources say there's a strong link to none other than Chris Webber. Yes, that Chris Webber, the same man who's been romantically tied to Jackie for years. If what Chantal claims is true, this story just took a devastating new turn. The courtroom erupted again. Doug, already struggling to process what he was hearing, broke down. Staff handed him tissues as he sat there, visibly crushed, unable to speak. One truth had surfaced, but it brought 1,000 questions with it. But Chantal wasn't finished. Her voice cracked, raw and trembling, as she looked straight at the judge and declared, "I found the truth and I won't stay silent, just to protect a lie. My whole life, I thought she was my mother, but now I know she never was. And the worst part, she knew it too." The room went still. Even the judge, known for his ice-cold composure, leaned back in visible shock. The whispers that had trickled through social media for weeks, rumors of tension, suspicion, buried secrets, had finally detonated in full view of the public, the press, and the law. No one imagined this would unfold like a live wire unraveling in front of the world. And definitely not like this. A truth too big to stay buried. The murmurs around Chris Webber's possible connection only grew louder. Sources close to the family say that just last week, Doug had quietly confronted Jackie after a trail of suspicious bank transfers surfaced, one in her name, the other wired to a private investigator in Sacramento. Jackie's excuse: legal research. But with what had just come to light, it was starting to look a lot more like hush money to keep a truth from rising. As the court recessed, Chantal walked out, cameras trailing her every step. Reporters swarmed, lobbing questions like firecrackers. "Who's your real mother? Did Jackie steal you? Was Doug in on it?" But Chantal didn't flinch. She looked straight ahead and said only this: "They'll all know the truth soon." Inside, Jackie's legal team was unraveling fast. One lawyer paced the hallway on back-to-back phone calls. Another quietly exited the building without comment. And her lead attorney looked shaken, so shaken. Insiders say he urged Jackie to withdraw from the trial entirely. But Jackie refused. Instead, she made a bold, suspicious move. She asked for a private chamber meeting with the judge. Why? Some believe she's ready to confess. Others think she's scrambling to strike a deal before the avalanche buries her completely. And then, things got even messier. A leaked voicemail dropped just hours before today's hearing, posted anonymously on a gossip blog and allegedly featuring Jackie's voice. In the recording, the woman says she was never supposed to find out. It was supposed to stay buried? According to the blog, the message was recorded 2 years ago and submitted by a former household employee. If true, it blows Jackie's entire defense apart. What was once seen as a wounded woman fighting to protect her family now reeks of something darker: manipulation, deception, and maybe even a criminal cover. Up. Doug, usually the composed one, has gone silent. Sources close to him say he's devastated, so much so that he's now demanding DNA tests for all 3 of their children. If she lied about one, he reportedly said, "How can I trust anything else?" It's not just his reputation on the line anymore, it's his identity as a father. And where does that leave Chantel? In the eye of a hurricane. Abandoned, caught between 2 adults who may have both deceived her. Fighting to find the truth about where she comes from, while the whole world watches. As the courtroom doors reopened, the air felt different, tense, heavy, electric. Everyone had seen the explosion, but no one was ready for what came next. Jackie, who had sat in silence for hours, finally stood. Her lawyers tried to pull her back, but she waved them off and asked the judge to speak directly. The judge paused. He looked at Jackie, then Doug, then at the media row, now packed with cameras. Boom, mics, and a nation watching through screens. After a long breath, he nodded. Jackie stepped forward to the witness stand, took a deep breath, and began. "I never wanted it to come to this. I didn't mean for her to find out that way. But everything I did to protect her." The room held its breath. Even Doug, arms crossed, jaw tight, didn't interrupt. Jackie went on. "Yes, Chantal is not my biological daughter. But I raised her. I gave her a home. I was there when nobody else was. And Doug knew. He always knew." A tidal wave of gasps swept through the courtroom. Doug's eyes snapped wide open. He stood up, voice booming. "That's a lie. You told me the adoption was officially. You swore everything was legit." Jackie shook her head. "You knew there were missing documents. You knew there were holes. You just chose not to ask questions. Don't act innocent now, Doug." Before he could respond, the judge slammed his gavel. "One more outburst, Mr. Christie, and you'll be held in contempt." Doug sat down, visibly shaking, fists clenched. Jackie returned to her statement, eyes brimming, hands trembling. Chantal's real mother. She was a friend. And just like that, everything changed. Again. She was in trouble. Jackie began, her voice barely audible, eyes wet with tears. "Addicted. Unstable. She begged me to take care of her baby. I agreed. I did what I had to do." She paused, shaking slightly. "Yes, I filed those papers in secret, but it wasn't to deceive anyone. It was about love." Her voice cracked as the tears finally fell, but the courtroom didn't budge. The silence wasn't sympathy, was judgment. The emotional plea couldn't undo what had already unraveled. And just when the room seemed to hit its breaking point, something new shattered through. The courtroom screens flickered to life. Doug's attorney had submitted a last-minute piece of evidence. A video. It played without sound, time-stamped only weeks ago. Jackie and Chris Webber, cozy in a hotel lobby, arms wrapped, smiling, kissing. The room stiffened. Jackie's expression collapsed in real time as the footage continued, her slipping an envelope into Chris's hands before they disappeared into the elevator together. She started to object, but it was too late. The courtroom ignited. Reporters whispered frantically into phones. Doug sat stone still, eyes locked on the screen. Voice barely a whisper. "So that's why you've been avoiding me." Chantel, watching from the back, turned away. Her hand trembled in her lap. This was too much. She had seen enough. Chris Webber wasn't in the courtroom, but his attorney stood up as the video ended. Calmly, she approached the bench and handed the judge another envelope. Inside, an official statement from Webber himself. In it, he acknowledged that he had been informed, through an anonymous whistleblower, of a high likelihood he was Chantal's biological father. He cited DNA comparisons, private messages, and a timeline that aligned to precisely to ignore. The judge stared down at the letter, stunned. No one moved. Then came the call. A 10-minute recess to absorb the gravity of what had just been introduced into evidence. Outside, the courthouse was a storm of breaking news alerts. Chris Webber, confession. Jackie's secrets unraveling. DNA shock in custody trial. But inside, something far worse was happening. Chantal had collapsed in the hallway. Overcome by everything: betrayal, confusion, grief, her body gave out. Medics rushed to her side. Though conscious, she was pale and visibly shaking. Doug tried to reach her, but security blocked him. Jackie moved toward her as well, but Chantal's voice cracked the air. "Don't touch me. Don't touch me again." When court resumed, the mood had shifted entirely. The judge returned. His tone changed, firmer, graver. "This is no longer just a custody matter," he said. "We are now dealing with possible criminal charges: falsified records, obstruction, perjury, and concealed DNA evidence. I am referring this case for federal investigation." You could feel the oxygen leave Jackie's lungs. Her face fell, lips parted in disbelief. What had started as a fight for a child's custody was now spiraling into something far deeper, darker, potentially criminal. And just when the courtroom couldn't take another twist, it happened. A woman stood in the back row. No one recognized her. She stepped forward, her voice steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "I'm Chantal's real mother." The room exploded. Gasps, cries. Someone dropped their phone. Her name, Angela Jordan. A name long forgotten, now resurrected. A woman who had vanished more than a decade ago. Her face was drawn, her eyes heavy, but her voice did not waver. "Jackie didn't rescue my baby. She stole her." Angela explained everything: her past struggles with addiction, her plea to Jackie for temporary help, the trust she'd placed in a friend. "She had never signed away custody. She never gave permission for adoption. She cut me off, changed my baby's name, moved away. I tried to fight. No one listened." She held up files: old hospital records, medical logs, photos. Every detail, lined up. A private investigator hired by an anonymous donor had finally tracked Jackie down, leading Angela to this courtroom and this moment. Doug, wide-eyed and speechless, stumbled backward into his seat. "I can't believe this," he whispered, tears welling up. The judge, nearly expressionless, ordered Angela to submit her affidavit and evidence to court officials. Her documents were verified on the spot. Everything matched. Every claim, every date, every image. What was once dismissed as courtroom drama had officially become a federal case. The judge adjourned proceedings for the day and issued a warning to Jackie. She was not to leave the state. Her lawyers, visibly shaken, offered no comment. Reporters ran to their feeds. The headlines practically wrote themselves. Jackie Christie accused of baby theft. Chris Webber entangled in secret paternity scandal. Doug Christie blindsided by family bombshell. Meanwhile, Chantal was rushed to the hospital for evaluation. According to sources, she was emotionally unstable, overwhelmed, and refusing to speak to either Jackie or Doug. The only person she reportedly asked for was someone no one expected. "But that is a revelation waiting for tomorrow," she agreed, "to see Angela, her real mother." And just like that, Part 3 began, where secrets crack open. Arrests are made, DNA ends the guessing, and the court delivers its final word. As the media storm spiraled outside, Jackie Christie sat frozen behind closed doors. Her hands trembling, her legal team murmuring frantic strategies she no longer seemed to hear. The wall across from her held more of her attention than the people fighting to save her name. Her fight was gone. The defiance drained out, replaced by a hollow stare. Meanwhile, Doug Christie was pacing the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, scrambling with his publicist to shape the narrative, to protect what was left of his public image, maybe his daughter. But there were no clean exits left in this mess. At the hospital, Chantal lay sedated in a private room, her body physically shut down by the avalanche of truth. Jackie wasn't her mother. The adoption was fake. Chris Webber might be her father. Her world, carefully constructed from lies, had collapsed in a single day. Doctors limited visitors, but one woman had already taken her place beside the bed: Angela Jordan. The woman who had, just hours earlier, stunned the courtroom into silence with the revelation no one saw coming. Chantal, barely awake, reportedly reached for Angela's hand and whispered, "Why didn't you come for me sooner?" Angela, her eyes full of tears, held her tight. I tried, baby. I tried every day. Outside those walls, the internet erupted. Social media timelines caught fire with disbelief and rage. Comments poured in by the thousands. How do you steal a child and keep it secret for 20 years? Chris Webber's silence is shady AF. Doug might not even be the real dad. This is wild, but none of it compared to what came next. The DNA results, the ones the court promised would settle everything. A press advisory confirmed they would be revealed in the next session and the world prepared to watch it live. The following morning, the courtroom was bursting at the seams. Reporters filled every bench. Cameras lined the walls. Even a few celebrities showed up, drawn by the sheer gravity of the case. Doug walked in alone, face blank. Jackie arrived, surrounded by 2 lawyers. Angela entered quietly with a court-appointed advocate. And in the very last row, wearing a pale blue sweater and a face drained of all color, Chantal appeared. She was weak, but present, bracing herself to hear the truth. The judge didn't waste time. We have now received and verified the certified DNA test results, he began. Samples were taken from Mr. Doug Christie, Mr. Chris Webber, Ms. Jackie Christie, and the minor in question. Results were triple confirmed by 2 independent labs. He paused. The air in the room felt like it had stopped moving. It is confirmed. Mr. Doug Christie is not the biological father. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Doug leaned forward, hand over his mouth. Everything he'd built his identity as a father, the love he'd poured into this girl, shattered in a sentence. The judge continued. Furthermore, results indicate with 99.997% certainty that Mr. Chris Webber is the biological father. Jackie buried her face in her hands and, for the first time in public, broke into uncontrollable sobs. Chris Webber's attorney refused to comment, but insider sources confirmed he had been privately informed of the results the day before. He was preparing to come forward. Doug rose from his seat slowly. His eyes met Chantal's across the room. She was crying. "I'm so sorry," she mouthed. Doug nodded, said nothing, and turned away. He walked out before the session could continue. He couldn't take any more. But the judge wasn't done. He turned his gaze to Jackie. His tone sharpened. Given the misrepresentation of guardianship, the falsified documents, and the deliberate concealment of the child's biological identity, over a span of more than 2 decades, this court is referring the matter for federal review and moving forward with criminal charges. Ms. Christie, you are hereby remanded to custody. Another gasp. Jackie blinked like she hadn't heard correctly, but 2 officers were already moving. Her lawyers tried to interject, but the judge silenced them. There will be no further arguments. Court is adjourned. Jackie stood shakily, her wrists slipping into cuffs. Her face, once so composed and commanding, now looked like a portrait of ruin. Chantal didn't look at her. Angela, still seated behind her daughter, held back tears. Outside, news alerts flashed across every screen. Jackie Christie arrested. Chris Webber, named biological father. Doug Christie walks out. The world had just witnessed the collapse of a fabricated family. And for Chantal, the story was just beginning. Jackie rose slowly, her body trembling, her face streaked with tears. She turned toward Chantal, eyes pleading, voice cracking. "I did it all for you." But Chantal didn't flinch. She turned her head away, lips pressed tight, eyes cold. There was no more room for apologies. Jackie's voice vanished into the echo of the courtroom as 2 officers approached. Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. The once powerful woman was now silent, her fate sealed in steel. Outside, chaos erupted. Media cameras swarmed the courthouse steps, capturing every second as Jackie was escorted into a waiting police van. Flashbulbs lit her face like a mugshot, and within minutes, headlines screamed across every major outlet. Jackie Christie arrested for kidnapping and fraud. DNA. Bombshell. Chris Webber confirmed as father. Doug Christie walks away after 20-year deception. Inside the courtroom, the storm hadn't fully passed. As the judge prepared to adjourn, Chantal stepped forward. "I just want to be free," she said, voice steady. The judge granted her legal emancipation from Jackie and Doug Christie, naming Angela Jordan, her biological mother, as her guardian. As mother and daughter embraced, it seemed the saga had ended. But a final twist came, an unmarked envelope delivered to the court. Inside were photos showing Jackie meeting with a hospital staffer tied to falsified birth records. A federal investigation was launched. expanding the case from custody fraud to possible child trafficking. Doug released a statement claiming betrayal but reaffirming his love for Chantal. Then Chris Webber broke his silence. "I just found out. I'm a father. I plan to show up." The scandal exploded nationwide, and as Chantal walked out into the flash of cameras, she said just one thing: "This isn't the end, it's the beginning." And with Jackie Christie now behind bars, everyone is asking the same thing: what happens next? Doug Christie has walked away from a life stitched together by deception, and Chris Webber, silent for decades, just stepped into the light to claim a daughter he never knew existed. But make no mistake, this is far from over. The fallout has only just begun. Federal investigators have now launched a full-scale inquiry into missing hospital files, doctored records, and Jackie Christie's quiet, calculated dealings with insiders who may have helped bury the truth about Chantal's birth. Behind every fake signature and falsified form lies a deeper, darker conspiracy, and the walls are closing in fast. The question isn't just what else Jackie hid, but who helped her do it and how long they thought they could get away with it. And now, all eyes are on what comes next. Chris Webber ready to meet the daughter he was kept from stands on the edge of an impossible moment. Will Chantal open her heart to the man biology says is her father? Or will years of manipulation and heartbreak from both Jackie and Doug build a wall too thick to break through? The emotional wreckage is still raw, and healing won't be instant, but there is another twist already brewing. That unnamed hospital employee, the one Jackie was caught meeting in secret. He's already been subpoenaed, and according to sources inside the investigation, he's ready to talk, ready to confess everything. His testimony threatens to unravel the entire operation, exposing forged signatures, illegal guardianship handovers, and a paper trail that may lead straight to criminal convictions for more than one person. And just when you thought it couldn't get more explosive, but a new leak. We've obtained exclusive audio: a secret phone call between Jackie Christie and that very same hospital official. In it, she allegedly offers him a bribe to scrub Angela's name from the birth records forever. The audio is real. The deal is undeniable. And the fallout could change everything. This isn't just a scandal anymore, it's a federal case built on betrayal, deception, and power plays that finally hit their limit. So if you thought this story was finished, think again. The truth is dripping out, one confession, one voice memo, one dirty secret at a time. And Jackie, she may not survive. What's coming next? Keep watching, because the next chapter might just break everything wide open.